but the most beautiful pictures can hide the darkest truths. My name is Olivia, and this is the story of how the carefully constructed facade of my family shattered, and how one person's courage gave me the chance to find my own. Growing up in a house that looked perfect from the outside, I learned a chilling lesson early on. My father, Harold, owned a successful construction company and was a respected deacon at the First Baptist Church. She was beautiful in a quiet way, with soft brown hair and eyes that seemed perpetually apologetic. I rarely, if ever, saw her stand up to my father. She was 2 years older than me and without a doubt our father's favorite. She had his steel blue eyes and his commanding presence. When he criticized me, she would pile on. When he punished me, she'd watch with a chilling satisfaction. He was a sensitive, quiet child who spent most of his time drawing or reading alone in his room. He witnessed more than any child ever should, his wide brown eyes taking in everything. From the outside, we appeared blessed. Nobody knew that behind our front door, we walked on eggshells, constantly anticipating the next explosion. The pattern had established itself years before. A glass left on the counter, homework not completed to his impossible standards, or speaking with the wrong tone of voice. The punishment rarely, if ever, fit the crime, but my father was skilled at justifying his actions. "This is how you learn respect," he would say. The physical punishment was painful, but the emotional manipulation cut so much deeper. He was a master at gaslighting. "That never happened," he would insist after a violent episode. Or, "You're just too sensitive." Or my personal favorite, "You provoked me." Family business stays within these walls, my father would remind us. My mother reinforced this message in gentler, but equally firm ways. "They might try to take you away from us." I had one friend, Zoe, who somehow saw through the cracks in my performance. But the words always stayed locked inside of me. By the time I was 15, my body had become a roadmap of healing and fresh injuries. I had unexplained pains in my abdomen, difficulty breathing after certain punishments, and bruises that seemed to take longer and longer to heal. This time, someone would see through the carefully constructed facade of our family life. This time I would find my voice. It happened on a Tuesday evening in October. I was washing dishes after dinner, my hands slippery with soap and water. My father was sitting at the kitchen table reviewing bills, his sheer presence making my movements stiff and cautious. The crash seemed deafening in the quiet kitchen as ceramic shards scattered across the tile floor. I froze, watching a piece spin to a stop near my father's foot. He stood up slowly, deliberately, his face transforming from annoyed to furious in a matter of seconds. "What is wrong with you?" he asked, his voice dangerously quiet. This was always worse than the yelling, the controlled rage that preceded the worst punishments. "It was an accident. I'll clean it up right away." "You're always sorry after the fact," he said, stepping toward me. Never careful enough to begin with, never thinking ahead. My sister Vanessa appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. "What did she do now?" she asked, as though inquiring about a recurring sitcom gag rather than her sister's impending punishment. His eyes remained fixed on me, tracking my slight movements as I tried to edge toward the broom. "That's the second one this month," Vanessa observed. "Maybe she should pay for them out of her allowance." I shot her a pleading look, but she just raised an eyebrow, clearly enjoying her role as the instigator. My mother appeared next, taking in the situation with a quick, nervous glance. "Harold, I can handle this. Olivia, start cleaning up while I get the dustpan."
No, Elaine.
"She needs to learn consequences. You're always too soft." My mother hesitated for just a moment before her shoulders slumped in defeat. She retreated without another word, leaving me alone with him. Through my tears, I saw Vanessa laughing softly. "She always does this," she said to no one in particular. "Acts like she's dying over nothing." My mother had returned to the doorway, her face pale. "She's faking for sympathy," he insisted, though he did step back, perhaps realizing he had gone too far this time. "Get up, Olivia. Clean this mess and go to your room." No one offered to help. Vanessa watched for a few more minutes before getting bored and leaving. I took 4 ibuprofen from my secret stash, but they barely touched the pain. Sleep came in fitful bursts, interrupted by searing pain whenever I moved. Every bump of the bus ride was agony. I avoided Zoe, knowing she would see right through any excuse I could come up with. This pattern continued for nearly a week. The pain didn't improve. If anything, it worsened. Breathing became more and more difficult. On the 7th day after the incident, everything changed. During gym class, we were running laps around the track. The pain in my chest became unbearable. I remember falling to my knees and then nothing. I woke up in the nurse's office with Zoe sitting beside me, her face tight with worry. The school nurse, Mrs. Patel, approached with a stern expression. "Olivia, you are not fine. You're having difficulty breathing and there is significant bruising on your torso. The paramedics are on their way. We've already called your parents. They'll meet you at the hospital." And just like that, the careful walls I had built around our family secret began to crumble. Monitors beeped, phones rang, and somewhere a child was crying. The initial assessment was quick and professional. When I hesitated, she looked directly into my eyes. My father stormed in first, my mother trailing behind him like a shadow. "What happened?" he demanded, directing the question to the nurse rather than to me. "She collapsed during physical education," Laura explained. "She's having difficulty breathing and shows signs of chest trauma. She fell down the stairs last week," my father said smoothly. "Is that what happened, Olivia?" she asked. My father's eyes bored into mine. "Yes," I said softly. "I fell." The young doctor ordered additional tests and consulted with a colleague. My father switched on his charming community leader persona. Dr. Martinez didn't return his smile. "That depends on the test results and how she responds to treatment. Rib fractures in adolescents are actually quite unusual. The pediatric rib cage is very flexible compared to an adult's. It takes significant force to break ribs in someone Olivia's age." A flicker of unease crossed my father's face. As I explained to the nurse, she fell down our stairs. She hit the banister on the way down. My father's jaw tightened slightly. "She said she was fine. Kids are always getting bumps and bruises. We had no idea it was this serious." Dr. Martinez nodded, her face neutral. Dr. Martinez pulled up a stool and sat at eye level with me. "Did someone hurt you?" The question hung in the air between us. "Fear one." Dr. Martinez nodded, not pushing. Someone finally knew. 15 years of silence couldn't be broken so easily. Dr. Martinez reviewed the results with a radiologist, then stepped out to speak with my parents. I couldn't hear what was said, but I saw my father's face through the window in the door. His expression transformed from annoyed to furious to artificially composed in seconds. "We'd like to admit Olivia overnight for observation," she said. "We're taking her home now. I'll sign whatever release forms you need." Dr. Martinez shook her head. "I cannot recommend that, Mr. Miller. And there's another matter we need to discuss. The scans show evidence of multiple previous injuries in various stages of healing. As a mandated reporter, I am legally required to report suspected abuse to Child Protective Services." My father's face drained of color before flushing an angry red. His voice was dangerously quiet. The tone I knew preceded his worst outbursts. Dr. Martinez remained perfectly calm. "I'm not implying anything, Mr. Miller. I am stating facts based on medical evidence. Olivia's body shows signs of repeated trauma over an extended period. As healthcare providers, we are required by law to report such findings." "This is outrageous," my father said, his voice rising. "You examine her for one issue and suddenly you're making these wild accusations. I will sue this hospital for defamation." He shook her off roughly.
No, Elaine.
"I will not stand here and be accused of harming my own daughter. Olivia, tell them. Tell them I have never hurt you." Every eye in the room turned to me. Dr. Martinez, the security guard, my father, my mother. The weight of their gazes made it hard to breathe. "Tell them," my father demanded. Dr. Martinez stepped between us. "Mr. Miller, I must ask you to lower your voice and step back. Olivia is my patient, and her well-being is my primary concern. And we are leaving now. Get your things, Olivia." "I'm afraid that's not possible," Dr. Martinez said. My father lunged toward the doctor, stopping just short of touching her when the security guard stepped forward. "You have no right. You can't keep my child from me." "Actually, sir, we can," the guard said calmly. "And if you continue to be disruptive, I will have to ask you to leave the premises." What followed was chaos. My father shouting threats about lawyers and lawsuits, my mother crying quietly in the corner, more security arriving, a hospital administrator attempting to defuse the situation. "You did well," Dr. Martinez told me, though I had done nothing but lie there in frozen terror. "I know this is overwhelming, but you are not alone anymore." Within hours, a social worker named Diana arrived. Yes, it happened often. Yes, I was afraid to go home. What would happen now? Where would I go? What would my father do when he found out what I had told them? The police came next, two detectives who asked many of the same questions but in different ways. They were kind but businesslike, explaining that they needed to interview my siblings and parents as well. "What will happen to my brother?" I asked, suddenly panicked at the thought of Tyler alone with my father's rage. "We will make sure he is safe," the female detective assured me. "Your siblings will be interviewed separately, and appropriate arrangements will be made for everyone's safety." Later that evening, I learned that the situation at home had escalated dramatically. My father had returned to the hospital, demanding to see me. When he was denied access, he had attempted to force his way past security. He was arrested on sight. Her words cut deep, reinforcing years of conditioning that I was responsible for maintaining family harmony, that speaking the truth was a betrayal. "Mom, he hurt me. He broke my ribs." "It was an accident," she insisted. "You provoked him. You always know how to push his buttons." I recognized the script she had recited so many times before, but now it rang hollow. There was a long silence on the line before she spoke again, her voice colder. Despite the evidence, despite the validation from medical professionals and authorities, a part of me still believed I had done something terrible by telling the truth. She had chosen my father. Vanessa, at 17, had vehemently denied any abuse occurred and accused me of lying for attention. Only Tyler, with the simple, heartbreaking honesty of an 8-year-old, had confirmed what happened in our house. A family named the Johnsons. They have experience with teens in crisis situations. You'll go there once you're discharged. And Tyler. He'll be placed with a different foster family temporarily, the Kellers. They specialize in younger children. You'll be able to have supervised visits with him. Everything was changing so quickly. I felt relieved and guilty and terrified all at once. The familiar, even if it was painful, was being replaced by the vast, frightening unknown. As Dr. Martinez signed my discharge papers the following day, she squeezed my hand. "Remember, Olivia, what happened was not your fault. Speaking the truth was brave, not disloyal. I know it doesn't feel like it now, but things will get better." Her husband, Frank, worked from home as an accountant. A twin bed with a blue comforter, a wooden desk under the window, and empty bookshelves waiting to be filled. The first night I barely slept. Every sound in the new house made me tense. Would Frank turn out to have a temper too? Would Grace grow tired of my presence? The uncertainty was almost worse than the familiar fear I had lived with for years. My ribs ached with every breath, every movement. "Are you sleeping?" she asked during one visit. "Not really," I admitted. "Nightmares." I nodded. "And just thinking about everything." Dr. Wilson's office was nothing like I had imagined a therapist's would be. Dr. Wilson herself was middle-aged with silver-streaked dark hair, and a direct gaze that somehow never felt intrusive. It's about creating a safe space for you to process what you've experienced and develop tools to move forward. Those early sessions were excruciating. Physical, emotional, and psychological. And it was never, not once, your fault. Abusers choose to abuse. Children do not choose to be abused. Your father made choices. You were simply trying to survive them. She explained trauma responses to me. How my hypervigilance, my anxiety, and my difficulty trusting others were all normal reactions to abnormal situations. She talked about how abuse impacts brain development and introduced techniques to ground myself when memories became overwhelming. How Tyler and I had developed different survival strategies. My father remained in custody, denied bail due to the severity of the charges and the perceived threat to his family. My mother hired an expensive lawyer for him and mortgaged the house to pay the legal fees. Preliminary hearings were scheduled. then rescheduled. Each time I had to recount specific incidents, I felt physically ill. But Diana assured me my testimony was crucial. "Your medical records are strong evidence," she explained. Dr. Martinez testified about the medical evidence, her testimony particularly damning given her expertise and credibility. Other witnesses emerged as the case proceeded. My fourth-grade teacher revealed she had reported suspected abuse to the principal, but no action had ever been taken. Zoe's mother confessed she had always felt something was wrong, but had respected my mother's assertions that everything was fine. School presented its own set of challenges. The rumors had spread, of course. In a small town, a prominent businessman being arrested for child abuse was major news. A few well-meaning teachers were awkwardly solicitous, while others seemed to pretend nothing had changed. The school counselor created a safe word I could use if I ever needed to leave class without an explanation. Zoe was my anchor. She walked with me between classes, glaring at anyone who stared for too long. She never pushed for details but always listened when I needed to talk. "I always knew something was wrong," she told me once. "That helped more than you will ever know." The Johnsons were consistent and patient. When I flinched as Frank raised his hand to reach for a high shelf, he pretended not to notice but was careful to move more slowly around me afterward. "Are you still hurt?" he asked, his eyes serious. "Getting better every day," I assured him. "How are you? Are the Kellers nice?" "They have a PlayStation, and Mrs. Keller makes chocolate chip pancakes on Saturdays." Then his voice dropped to a whisper. "Yes. Good. He was mean to you and sometimes to me too." He looked at me with ancient eyes in his child's face. "Mrs. Harper is right," I said, my throat tight with unshed tears. Those visits became the brightest spots in my weeks. Tyler was adapting to his foster home with the resilience of youth. His therapist was using play and art to help him process his experiences, and he proudly showed me drawings that expressed his feelings. The dark circles under my eyes started to fade. I had fewer nightmares, though they never disappeared completely. And one day, in my 4th month with the Johnsons, I realized I had gone 24 hours without feeling fear. Just one day, when the knot in my stomach loosened, when I laughed without immediately tensing for punishment, when I moved through the world as if I had a right to exist in it. I held on to that thought on the harder days, when memories ambushed me or when new developments in the case reopened old wounds. And for the first time in my life, I began to believe I deserved it. By then, I had turned 17 and had lived through a full cycle of seasons with the Johnsons. My father, facing overwhelming evidence and multiple charges, accepted a plea deal. 8 years in prison with no possibility of early parole, followed by 5 years of probation, and permanent restraining orders for Tyler and me. I sat in the courtroom as the judge announced the sentence, my hands trembling slightly in my lap. He didn't look at me once during the entire proceeding. My mother sat directly behind him, still supporting him despite everything. She had only filed for divorce when her lawyer made it clear that continuing to stand by my father would permanently cost her custody of Tyler. Vanessa, now 18 and legally an adult, had moved into our old house with our mother after graduating high school. The judge addressed me directly before concluding. "Young lady, the courage you have shown in coming forward has not only protected yourself but potentially others. This court recognizes the difficulty of testifying against a parent and commends your bravery." Outside the courthouse, Diana hugged me. "How are you feeling?" "I don't know," I answered honestly. "All normal reactions," she assured me. With the case concluded, new decisions loomed. The temporary foster placements could now transition to more permanent arrangements. My mother, technically eligible to regain custody, would need to complete parenting classes and therapy, as well as demonstrate her ability to protect us from our father, even after his eventual release. It was the first time anyone had asked me that question about my living situation. His therapist reported significant progress in processing his trauma, though he still had nightmares and occasional behavioral issues at school. Our mother, faced with the reality that neither of her children wanted to return home, finally began her own journey of reckoning. Through court-mandated therapy, she slowly began to acknowledge her role in enabling the abuse. "I failed you," she admitted, her voice thick with emotion. "I was supposed to protect you and I didn't." "Why?" I asked the question that had haunted me for years. Why did you let it happen? She looked down at her clasped hands. I was afraid. Afraid of him, of being alone, of not being able to support you kids by myself. I told myself it wasn't that bad, that all families had problems. I was wrong. So wrong. And I am sorry, Olivia. I know that's not enough, but I am truly sorry. It wasn't enough, not nearly enough, but it was a beginning. Over time, our relationship inched towards something resembling healing. I mourned the sister I never really had, the relationship that might have been possible in a different, healthier family. With the support of a few key teachers, particularly Mr. Peterson, my English teacher, I discovered a passion for writing. Putting my experiences on paper, first in private journals and later in carefully anonymized creative pieces, helped me process my trauma in ways that complemented my ongoing therapy. Your words could help others who have experienced similar situations. That comment planted a seed that would later bloom into my career path. With graduation approaching, I began considering college options. My grades, which had always been good, had improved as my home situation stabilized. This is your home for as long as you need it. The casual certainty of his statement brought tears to my eyes. After years of conditional acceptance, the Johnsons' straightforward, unconditional support still caught me off guard sometimes. Though I was initially reluctant, I found unexpected strength in the shared experiences of the group members. Through the group, I began to develop a new understanding of resilience. It wasn't an impenetrable armor, but rather the ability to be wounded and still grow, still love, still hope. I watched older members who had built healthy relationships and successful careers despite their pasts, and their examples gave me hope for my own future. During my final semester of high school, I took a tentative step that surprised even me. Students I barely knew approached me afterward, some sharing their own experiences, others asking how they could help friends they were worried about. Several teachers confessed they now recognized signs they had missed in other students. This unexpected impact led to an invitation to speak at other schools in neighboring districts. With Diana's help navigating the logistics, I developed a presentation appropriate for different age groups, from middle school through high school. When acceptance letters from colleges began arriving that spring, I chose a school with a strong psychology program, determined to turn my experience into a career helping other trauma survivors. Now I have my own practice working with young people who have experienced abuse, helping them find the path to healing that I once struggled so hard to see for myself. College brought new challenges, new triggers, and new lessons in trust and boundaries. The first time a boyfriend raised his voice during an argument, I had a panic attack so severe I needed medical intervention. Learning to distinguish between normal conflict and the warning signs of abuse took years of continued therapy and practice. My father was released after serving his full 8 years when I was 24. Vanessa and I had no contact for nearly a decade after the trial. Her voice sounded different, subdued and uncertain. You were telling the truth all along, weren't you? Yes, Vanessa, I said softly. I was. Tyler grew into a thoughtful, kind young man with a gift for connecting with troubled kids. Now a high school history teacher, he uses his own experience to identify and support students who might be suffering in silence, just as we did. The Johnsons remain an essential part of my life, me true family in all the ways that matter. Grace still calls me her girl, and insists on sending me care packages, even though I'm a grown woman with a doctorate. Dr. Martinez and I have also kept in touch. Over coffee last month, I finally asked her a question that had lingered for 17 years. She thought for a moment. It wasn't one thing but many small inconsistencies. The pattern of your injuries, the fear in your eyes when your father was present, the way he always answered for you. Thank you, I said simply. Thank you for believing me. My personal life has found its own healing path, too. 5 years ago, we married in a small ceremony surrounded by the people who helped me rebuild my life. Her world is filled with laughter, not fear. Her home is a sanctuary, not a source of pain. And in that simple, perfect moment, the last of the shadows from my past finally seemed to fade away. The cycle was well and truly broken. The pain I endured did not define my ending. It became the foundation for a life devoted to ensuring other children find their own path to safety and healing. If you are watching this and recognize any part of your own story in mine, Please know this. You are not alone. Your voice matters, your truth deserves to be heard, and your future can be so much brighter than your past. Healing is not just possible, it is your right. Thank you for letting me share my journey with you. If this story resonated, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel.